Okay, abusia yeba eba be breaki e de mama say eye Richard Jackpa a petition CID say on investigate eye former attorney general abusia na sa ensem no ye di kan de bram no Richard Jackpa asan so a drop a full document with evidence against against Godfred abusia sisi and Richard Jackpa expose upon expose or drop it edigu as see a shock yes a former attorney general Godfred Damia enye asem keto akra na sisi no asem no ba bia eboboko no former attorney general a friend Godfred Damia no eche say Akuffo Addo ne din apiem a eche say one no mienu na omopese omoforce e prosecute ato force na Richard Jackpa a drop evidence ni na de ama CID boss enye asem keto akra amom yankon na yankon kwoti ensem bia cause on subscribe ya subscribe like and share ma afofron so ensa into me enka bi Ghana Politics Avenue. So and don't forget to click on the notification bell so na any update we ever drop bia no onso onsa ebe to me akabi medamase.
The AG Godfred, that's the former Attorney General Godfred Yabuadame, solicited his cooperation to testify in a matter to incriminate Dr. Kasela Toforcing and to help fast-track the conclusion of the case. Here's it. It says, 1, that at the close of the prosecution's case, the High Court upheld that the Attorney General, that's the then Attorney General Godfred Yabuadame, contention that a case had been made against me to answer. In fact, he goes on to indicate that the testimony to incriminate Dr. Kasela Toforcing after I opened my defense led to a phone call to me. As we know, this phone call, aspects of this phone call was made public. In fact, it was tendered in as evidence during this particular trial. It was admitted in court as evidence, as we recall. And on the 26th day of March 2024 by the learned Attorney General, when I was to appear in the High Court to continue my evidence in chief in terms of the witness statement I had filed. In the phone conversation between the then Attorney General and me, which I have attached to this petition, he suggested that during cross-examination I testified not based on matters personally perceived and understood by me, but based on his suggestions, and to skew my understanding of the issues in such a way to implicate Dr. Kasela Toforcing, the first accused, and to further lie to the court that I was not well by procuring a false excuse duty to that effect. Richard Jackpa, in this petition, stated that in that telephone conversation, Godfred Dame directly engaged me on the subject of the letters of credit as an Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana, and stated how he thought I should answer questions regarding the letters of credit during cross-examination, contrary to my honest understanding and knowledge of how letters of credit work. I disagreed with him, but he insisted that it should not bear any risk to me. He further said he would be traveling out of the country and not be able or to be in court, and that's at the next adjourned date, and that I seek an adjournment from the court by getting an excuse duty from a hospital to the court, that I was sick, to allow him to be present in court before I proceed with my testimony. But I declined this criminal, dishonest, and unethical suggestion from him as Attorney General then. He says that in the circumstances, he is praying that the attempt by Godfred Dame for him, Richard Jackpa, to testify in a particular way so as to dishonestly, wickedly, and without an iota of conscience implicate Honorable Dr. Kasela Toforcing, and to also lie to the court by procuring a false excuse duty, which constitutes a crime, that's fabrication of evidence. He wants the CID investigate this and make to face the full consequence. In fact, if found to be culpable, because this is, according to Richard Jackpa's petition, very necessary, especially when such diabolical and vicious actions an Attorney General can breach the peace of the country and erode the trust that the public has in the esteemed office of the Attorney General of this country. So this is what Richard Jackpa is praying of the CID, of the Ghana Police Service, to investigate and bring some expeditious consideration to the matters that he has put before the CID of the Ghana Police Service. This is one that we're keeping an eye on to see how things unfold and evolve in that matter. Now, this is Ghana Tonight. The question that the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Akuffo, espoused on GTV earlier. Now, Richard Kumado is security analyst joining us. Mr. Kumado, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. First of all, I want to understand exactly how different this path that government, through the minister, is taking. Instead of declaring a state of emergency, they want to rather declare these water bodies, forest reserves, where galamsey is taking place, as security zones. What's the difference between the two?
Because we clearly mentioned, for the purposes of public education, the state of emergency is a restrictive measure, and it causes high levels of discomfort within the geographical areas. Government is being clever about it, and they are adapting other methods of getting the same results in a different manner. Now, when you declare the water bodies and the forest reserves as a security zone, the predominant action within every security zone is security operation. And it is expected that the people within the catchment area are other participants, or they are willing to observe strict adherence. Any non-conformity or non-adherence may result in some level of casualties. But because these are exclusively, or you have exclusive right to the forest and to the water bodies, it makes it a little bit far away from where you have a predominant mass activities of human beings. And what this also means is that because the minister or the president is willing and able to declare a particular forest or a water body as a security zone, it gives exclusive right to security officers, the national anti-galamsey officers, or any other military or the police force they will bring, the forestry task force, the gold board task force, and all other task force in a fight against galamsey to protect and to guide it. And they will guide it strictly that entering and exit will have to be based on strict procedure. So that is where we are. And I think if they can manage it that way, based on the geographical mappings they might have done and the security risk assessment which we have done for the past 5 years, it would have helped them to at least stop the other activities that finally resulted in the debris that fall into the water and create many of the mess we are seeing around.
And so this will involve the deployment of the military to these areas, water bodies that galamsey is taking place on, the forest reserves where galamsey is taking place. And so there'll be permanent military posts in these areas, correct?
Yeah, they use, my brother Felix Ofosukwati said, they have risk classified 44 zones as a high risk galamsey zones, and they are going to put a permanent law enforcement post there. But if you understand how this terrain works, yeah, you may have a post, but it doesn't mean the same officers are going to be at the place for a very long time. They may go on routine, they may go on patrol, and they may go on routine basis. And so it depends on who is leading the operation and how they want to manage it. What is key in a security zone is a predominant feature of security activity. So all the activities, the major activities you will find around all these zones, whether they are in the forest zone or they are on the water bodies, are going to be largely controlled and managed by security forces, whether it's the BNI, is the police, or is the military, or exclusively by the National Anti-Galamsey Task Force they have formed. But then guess what? The task force we have, you know, the forestry guards are also task force in the fight against galamsey.
Right.
Then you have the national anti-galamsey task force.
True.
Then you have other task forces.
There's the Blue Water Guards and all the others.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. Then you have the gold board, the Gold Board Task Force also play auxiliary role, not just in smuggling out people who are smuggling gold out of this country, but they also work in conformity with what the national task force.
In fact, there are some municipal assemblies that also have their own task force. The small scale, the legalized or registered small scale miners have also just set up their own task force to complement the fight against galamsey. So we have a number of things going on. But then again, you make a very,
what you need to ask the minister, there has to be conformity. If they have conformity and they streamline it, then there will be what we call command and control, and it makes life easier for them. Other than that, we have to come back again and say some people are going out of line and they need to conform.
And I do appreciate you for this. Thank you so much. Richard Addo is a security consultant and analyst as well, joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Before we go, as I indicated to you right from the beginning of the week, we're going to be giving you consistent daily updates of what's happening at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly taking place in New York in the United States. And today, just some few minutes ago, the President, John Dramani Mahama, says Ghana is open for business in the upstream and downstream sector. Again, as he sells his reset agenda to the American Chamber of Commerce. Now, speaking at an executive business roundtable event at NASDAQ, where he was welcomed with a digital billboard. We're going to put that on the screen right now. The president's welcome on that digital billboard right there in the Times Square in New York. He intimated that Ghana believes in a free market, reasoning it had allowed the markets to work. Now, Kamala Kluche is our man, senior president affairs correspondent. He's in New York right now and moving every step of the way with the president as we speak at the headquarters on the 42nd Street, Times Square, New York. That's where Kamala is joining us live right now on the 42nd Street, Times Square, New York. Kamala, good evening. Thank you for joining us. How's the Big Apple treating you?
Not bad, Alfred. It's been a very, very hectic day. Quite a busy day for the president and Ghana's entourage to the 80th United Nations General Assembly. Kicked off this morning with that meeting with President Ruto of Kenya, then meeting the UN Secretary General. Later on, the Minister for Foreign Affairs also had bilateral meetings and the like and all that. Then he addressed the financing, so to speak, summit, but focus was on his appearance at NASDAQ. And just like he indicated in that video that we're seeing now, where he was welcomed, it was a special announcement of him welcoming him to NASDAQ here at Times Square. And you know what it means? NASDAQ is where, the fulcrum of business is with. I mean, and this is where the American Chamber of Commerce also has its own establishment with all the businesses here. Met John Mahama, where he discussed with them, first off, how Ghana is open for business, how the climate, despite the challenges the economy has faced in recent time, is beginning to bounce back, and he's welcoming them. In fact, he made the point that there's a lot of investment in the downstream and upstream sector. He speaks about the big push agenda. He speaks about the Mahama Cares and a whole host of others. And the response from the businesses is to the effect that, yes, indeed, confidence is in the economy that has been led by John Mahama, and they are equally ready to do business with Ghana. The opportunity is there. Then the foreign minister also intimated that from next year, the e-visa would come into force. What it means also is that if this business investment people are coming into the country, they will not have a problem. But let's listen to what John Mahama had to say to the American Chamber of Commerce.
All sides, we have lithium, recently discovered nickel, and some other rare earth minerals. And so that there are opportunities in that area. There are several foreign companies working in that space, Goldfields Ghana, Newmont, and several of them all are doing business successfully in Ghana. But there are also medium to small scale Ghanaian companies in the sector. We also have the oil and gas sector. The upstream, we started oil and gas production in 2010, and since then there had been a decline because over the last 8 years there were several disagreements between government and several of the companies operating in the oil and gas space, upstream space. E&I had litigation with a small company, and government didn't handle it well, so E&I moved their headquarters to Côte d'Ivoire and withdrew all the investments. I'm happy to say Ghana is open for business in the upstream sector. And so E&I, we have an American company, Cosmos, who are partners with Addo in the Jubilee field, and they committed to invest another $2 billion to raise the production of the Jubilee and 10 field. E&I has the Sarkophag prospect, and they're producing oil and gas from there. And we're using much of the gas that we're receiving to produce power for electricity. So that's good. There's space for investment in the downstream.
So that's the President, John Dramani Mahama there. Kamala, earlier the President met the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Any idea of exactly what they spoke about? How this is the second meeting since he came into office again as President. How did they play out?
Closed door meeting, I must say, very brief. But I mean, whilst in Japan, he expressed a lot of confidence in John Mahama's administration and also the leadership role that Ghana has played when it comes to sub-region and the prevention of conflict and then the crisis on the global stage and also the continent as well as the sub-region. But tomorrow is the big day, Alfred. President John Mahama will be speaking. He will be taking his debate to the world, where he would address them at 12 Eastern Time, which will be 4 p.m. in Ghana. He is expected to speak on a wide range of issues, and we do not want to give a preemption, but we already know the position that he's held already in terms of most of the things that are happening around. And for instance, the issue also about the tariffs, the issue about the AFTA, where he's asking a lot of the businesses to partner the African countries to be able to do the business. This is what it is, and the world's attention will be on John Mahama tomorrow as he delivers that speech to the United Nations General Assembly. But across the street there in New York, there's a Times Square where many people keep expressing a lot of confidence in the administration of John Mahama, in terms of him setting the right tone, in terms of the principles that he's put acclaim for his research agenda. And we can only hope that at the days to come, many more would be the prospects that would come for Ghana.
Kamala Kluche, appreciate you for this, and thank you as always. And tomorrow we connect again on that big day, 4 p.m. Ghana time is going to be live here on TV3. The President John Dramani Mahama's address to the United Nations General Assembly, and Kamala Kluche is going to be there for us as always. Kamala, great stuff, good job, and all the best out there. Kamala Kluche is our presidential affairs correspondent, coming to us live from the NASDAQ headquarters on the 42nd Street, Times Square, New York, the Big Apple, City of Lights. Kamala, thank you.
Okay, abusuya Richard Jackpa and Yisiano all pressy a former Attorney General Godfred Dame, neck left, right, center back, and ye asem keto akra. Nti no, ye be share the way forward we be asem no be kwa kusia enye easy. But am as some Japan kokotisa in some way. My Ghana Politics Avenue. So, and don't forget to click on the notification bell so that any updates be able to drop one so one a bit to me. Better was.